my kitchen and welcome to the first of my homemade videos to celebrate the launch of my new book Oats in the North, Wheat from the South. And the first thing we are going to bake together is one of the favorite bakes from my book. It's called clap cake. It is from the north of England, from Cumbria, and it's made with oat flour. And the first reference I found to it in a book was in the 17th century, so it's pretty old, and today it's been completely forgotten about. So that makes it really interesting. What also makes it really interesting is that it resembles Scandinavian crisp bread, and it makes sense because the climate in Scandinavia and in the north of England is quite similar. Oats are the best crop to grow there, and you can't really make this fantastically leavened bread with oats, so it makes sense to make flat bread. So what do we need to do? We need 220 milliliters of water. We are going to melt lard into it, 20 grams. It shouldn't boil, it should just basically melt the lard, and that is about it. And then we need a big bowl, 170 grams of oat flour. This is very, very finely milled oat flour. And then to make it bind a little bit more easily, I'm going to add 60 grams of plain flour. Now this is partly plain, partly whole wheat. Just take whatever you've got in your cupboard, maybe like the little leftovers in the different cupboards and bags that you have looking about. Use that, no problem at all. Then we use half a teaspoon of salt. Combine it very well. And then to it we will just add the water with the lard. Which takes a little while to melt, obviously. I should have had a pan ready with it already molten, but it's my first video, things can go wrong. We can just enjoy each other's company here in my kitchen. It's very full, as you can see. I like all my little knickknacks around me. And my husband's artwork, obviously. Alright, this is melting very nicely. It's not a lot of water, so it does melt very quickly. Now, if we're going to roll it out, we're going to roll out the dough on a piece of paper, baking paper, because that's going to make life a whole lot easier for us. And then we'll use a plain rolling pin, but if you have one, for the last bit of rolling, you could use this Scandinavian rolling pin, which has like little knobs, which makes it more crispy, because you can roll it much more thinly and have like, you know, the little cushions. So that's really nice. Great, so we can add this to our flour and salt, pour it in there, all of it, fantastic. Get a wooden spoon out. And you just mix everything together. It's really easy. Now, what I also like to do, because everyone's making sourdoughs these days, but of course you have to throw away a lot of the starter if you want to refresh it. But I just like to repurpose some of the starter, adding it to my crisp bread dough. It gives a lot of flavour, and that means you don't have to waste the entire leftover starter. You have to blend it. There we are. And once the dough is okay to handle with your bare hands, because of course the water is really hot, then you go in with your hands, just blow on it a little bit, coming together nicely. Oh, I do love the smell of warm oats, so breakfasty. Okay, get it out there. Now what we're going to do is use a lot of spare oat flour to roll it out. Will make it a lot more easier, which is here. Now, knead it a little bit. You know, I like to use like my fist if I have to knead into this kind of hot dough. It's like hot water crust pastry. It's better if you just, you know, get in there with your fist. You need, keeps things from getting into your fingernails as well. There we are. Great. So now we have this like sturdy dough, which is nice and warm, which is great if your kitchen is a bit cold like mine is today. Great. So now it's basically a matter of just, you know, you have to see how large your baking trays are, or how, you know, because my ovens are, I've got 3 ovens, but you know, they're quite small. So my tray is quite small, so I'm making small oat cakes. You can make them really large, which is what they did in the past. And you know, just make one large one or 2 large ones rather than a couple of small ones. Now you just flour your paper and flour your little bit of dough here with the oat flour. Now just get rolling. Rolling, rolling, rolling. I mean, I really, really, really love this. You can make these in a rather large quantity, and then you can just keep it very long in like these sturdy brown bags, which is fantastic because I mean, I make them and then they'll last about a month, which is what they did in the past. They would make a lot of these oat cakes and then they would set them in front of the fire, and they had their own little racks which were called have a cake or clap cake maidens, and the cakes would just dry out, and that's what kept them for longer. So I'm gonna go over it with a little special rolling pin, which is really cool because then, you know, you get these, I don't know if you can see, like texture. Now, there we are. All we need to do, put that onto your baking tray, stick it into the oven, which was preheated at 230. Some of us only do 220, that's fine as well. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes, and then you have to turn the clap cake and bake it for a further 5 minutes. And in the end, what you'll have is this. And I have like fabricated my own little have a cake maiden, and you'll have this, which is fantastic. I mean, it's like crisp bread basically. I love eating it with Stilton. The combination oats and Stilton is just wonderful. It's a fantastic bake. You can use up your leftover sourdough starter to add to it, and it's just really fun to make. It's also fun to make with the kids because they can't do anything wrong with it. It's easy, it's very quick, so I hope you like it. I hope you like the little background behind it, and thank you for watching.